Hi, everyone. I'm Simone Christian. I work primarily in the School of Nursing, but I'm also available to the rest of the faculty and staff community here at Notre Dame.
All right, let's take a look at these strategies. But before we actually do that, I want to jump in with three little mini tips that I like to share when we are talking about student engagement and student learning and what we want in an ideal classroom, not just a hybrid class, but a face-to-face class, a fully online class, and all of the combinations in between. So when we start, we want to set expectations early. If you can do so before class starts, then all the better. This is the same as with the syllabus and assignments and activities that you outline on day one. Give them that and also let them know about the hybrid nature of your class. An expectation could be perhaps for those at home, they need to show their face each week in the class session for the weekly check-in. Another expectation may be for those who are physically in class that they need to have their laptop or device with them when they come to class each week, and perhaps even a headset microphone like one that comes with most smartphones. Open, honest conversation with your face-to-face and off-site learners. These conversations build trust. You allow your students to talk about their feelings on a timely topic, or even give them a chance to use those breakout rooms in mixed groups with some face-to-face learners and some online learners kind of conversing together. That brief time of conversation helps to build rapport between peers. It helps to build trust between learners, and it also builds trust in you for being a facilitator of this safe space for non-work related talk. Remember, this is something that your students are used to doing when they are coming to class in strictly a face-to-face setting, is speaking to each other as they walk to class, or talking about what they've watched when they enter the classroom before they open their books and get started, and even, chatting a little bit as they leave the class. So be a facilitator of this open and honest conversation. Next up is to record and archive your lectures. Not the full class session, just that lecture material, that important information that you give in order to help students understand the textbook readings or to move forward with learning activities. Something that we really can't forget is that there's currently no vaccine. This fall may be your testing ground for spring and summer courses, maybe even next fall. We're going to cross our fingers that's not the case, but we don't know that. Recorded lectures can set you up for having reusable archive, a repository of supplemental videos for future classes. So you're creating for them something that may be a study guide or a study aid when they're preparing for a test. It may be something that they refer to when they are working on their projects, these video lectures that you share for them. So those are my three little tiplets. Now, let's get into the main strategies that we want to talk about. First up is the buddy system. Now, simple things like monitoring the chat in a virtual session like this here, monitoring the chat just by itself is something that is really easy to forget as you interact and as you lecture. So with this strategy, you have a student help you to manage the logistics. It alleviates the problem of addressing questions and answers equitably in your hybrid class, and here's how that works. So at the time when you are starting your lecture or maybe your Q&A or your discussion session, you have all learners, the ones in front of you and the virtual learners, have them enter that virtual classroom. Follow the link. You guys in front of me, shut off your microphone, shut off your camera, mute your speakers. Then having a student selected as your buddy, one of your face-to-face students, sorry online people, have them be the buddy. They're the person who monitors the chat. Let them know all your questions will be placed into the chat. I'm going to lecture and then I'm going to take questions. Rather than raising hands during the speaking part, write them in the chat. Then your buddy monitors the questions as they come in. And when it's time, that person can pose the question. They can consolidate the question. So if three or four questions came in about the same topic, they can say, look, three or four people have asked this. And now you know that this is something you might need to go more in depth in, or you might need to break it down into smaller parts as you're answering student questions. So, our next tip is to employ a set schedule, a rigid schedule as to how you're going about things. Now, we all know that this online experience, and I'm talking about this meeting we're having right now, this is included, this online experience is a filter. It removes a lot of the joy and spontaneity, the interactivity. It removes that from the in class experience for your learners. So, take a granular, intentional look at your class time, at what happens in your classes, and schedule it out. I don't mean you have to do it minute by minute, but maybe you do it in chunks. Have your events and activities occur in the same block of time in each class, in each session that you have. A lot of us educators already do this, but you know what? Use a rigid, a set schedule to your benefits. Learners and students, young people, feel a level of comfort when things are scheduled, when things are delineated for them. It's the research says it. I'll find it for you. But let's take a look because I have an example. Every class session when we come in, first 10 minutes, that's our quiz. That's our reading quiz. And I use this quiz as well for taking attendance. So that's my first 10 minutes are always the same in my classes. The next 10 minutes, now I have weekly icebreaker here, which I mentioned earlier. Like, yeah, you can give them an opportunity to take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and talk about what happened in the news. For me, what I did in was have a discussion. What was the muddiest point of the reading? What didn't you understand from the homework, the reading, the videos that you had to watch before you came to class? And usually I would say that took about 5 minutes. For my students. Next, I would do a lecture, and my lectures were 10 minutes, 15 minutes long. That's the way I put things together. After the lecture, a brief Q&A, everybody gets up, takes a break, and then we get back into our project. My classes are project based, so the bulk of the class time is students working on projects that is going to get them toward that final piece. And so this is time that they are working for the most part independently. After that, I tell them, all right, what's next? You're going to do some readings. Everything's on the learning management system. We'll see you in a couple days. Something like that. I also wanted to just make one point here. There are a few things to consider when working on the schedule. First up, do you need your online students in class for the full 50 minutes or 2 hours or 4 hours? Do you need them logged into Zoom for that time? If not, then figure out what their presence is necessary for and stack these things together. So in my schedule, I have the lecture, my 10-15 minute lecture, and then I would have the Q&A and I would have the group discussion. I would juggle those things to figure out where to put them and I would have those blocked together. And if I don't need my students in there, what can I have them do as self-paced work? What activities, what readings? Are there additional assessments or videos? Is there stuff that I can have them do self-paced? Because you know what? I'm going to tell them, guys, you've had your class time. You only need to be physically here, but you are responsible for items X, Y, Z, and R on that are posted on our learning management system. And the last thing that I want you to ask yourself is, are your course materials, the stuff that you have put online in the LMS, in Jewel, in Moodle, in Canvas, in Blackboard, wherever they are they comprehensive? Is everything that they need, that PDF or that Word document that tells them what to do step by step, is that already there on the learning management system? All right, so our last strategy is about groups, working in groups, using those breakout groups in Zoom. So you may think that breaking all of these students into groups is something that may be impossible, but with some pre-planning, you can actually set up robust group interactions in this hybrid setting. Again, it starts with setting expectations for your students. So here's how you do it. When we started the video, you could see that I was wearing a headset microphone. If your students have that, you have them bring in their headset mic, or alternatively, just about anyone with a smartphone nowadays, gets one of those small earbud headset microphones that they can use to make calls. So have them bring that in. That will connect to their laptop or their device, and they can then use them in their conversations with their peers who are connected virtually. If that is not an option for all of the students in your class, then you can also take that room space and add physical distance. Put the groups or your students into the four corners of the room and really spread them out so that conversation between students in the group doesn't overlap. They can hear each other well, and they can also speak and be heard. So that's one thing. And next is to make sure that all of your students are connected using Zoom. So you might say, all right, we're going to have a lecture, Q&A, and then some discussion time. So everybody in the classroom, make sure that you follow the Zoom link before the lecture starts, and do it that way so you have them all connected. They can then be placed into the breakout rooms fairly easily with their peers. Now, when you have them about to start their discussion, make sure you give them explicit instructions. Tell them, I want you to discuss topic X and come up with solutions, to topic Y. And I'm going to give you X amount of time to have these group discussions. It's good to present a sense of urgency to them rather than a loose outline of the time that they have. Yeah, you got 10 minutes. Yeah, you got 15 minutes. I would say, give them 5 minutes or less to have their discussions so that when they get in there, they get straight to the point and start talking about what they need to talk about. Come up with solutions or opinions that they can discuss when brought back to the larger group. And my last one is to randomize your breakout groups. So don't necessarily have learners all in breakout groups together. Here's your face-to-face group. Here's your online group. Try mixing it up each week, because you're going to get people with different opinions, different ideas, different learning styles, different real world knowledge and experiences that they're going to bring to each group. So that presents a more robust conversation as you're doing your breakout groups. So one last thing I want to leave you with. Now, during the COVID shutdown, during quarantine, during this time in the summer, I've been doing a lot of professional development myself, attending conferences and also doing some research on this particular topic for publication later on this year. And in all of this, I came upon a really robust and comprehensive survey done by the Every Learner Everywhere organization of undergraduate students who were blindsided by online learning this past spring, and they found some things from students that were very interesting. Social interaction in an online classroom directly correlates to student achievement. If you can have a class where students are speaking and being spoken to, speaking to each other, seeing each other, completing activities that have them socially connected to each other, they are going to achieve better than students who don't. If your class is just do this reading and then write something and submit it, I'll grade it. Now do this other reading and write something and submit it, I'll grade it. That is not going to build the acquisition of knowledge. That's not going to build achievement in your classes. Giving your students a sense of community and belonging gives them a positive attitude toward this online learning experience. Having that connection means that they are more open and more prepared to achieve. So I will share with you this survey as well as the recording. So if you have questions about teaching and learning, the online tools and resources that we have available to you, if you want to try and develop your course and make it a stronger online course with content for the fall or for upcoming semesters, please reach out to me. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for your attendance. Take care.